Welcome to the Books and Martinis podcast.
I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy.
And this is your go-to book podcast,
where we lift, empower, and spotlight authors.
Grab your martini and follow along.
And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to our podcast. I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy. Welcome, everybody, and welcome especially Catherine. Thank you for being here with
Catherine.
us today. Cheers to
Thank
Catherine.
You for joining
you
us.
guys. Happy to be here.
Salute to a great interview.
Yes. We're so excited you're here. I can't tell you enough how excited I am about this beautiful book.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you
My
so much.
Goodness.
Catherine Newman. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to let Priya talk a little bit about who Catherine Newman is, but then I'm going to jump right in because this book was completely different from what I was expecting, and it was great either way.
No spoilers, though. We got to make sure our listeners and our watchers get it.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's just so awesome. Okay,
not too much better.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Catherine Newman is the author of the book Sandwich, and let me read her bio for you guys. So Catherine Newman is a New York Times best-selling author of the memoirs Catastrophic Happiness and Waiting for Birdie, the middle grade novel One Mixed Up Night, the kids' craft book Stitch Camp, and the best-selling how-to books for kids, How to Be a Person and What Can I Say, and the novels We All Want Impossible Things, Sandwich, and Wreck, forthcoming in October. Yay!
Ooh, I love that.
And her books have been translated into a dozen languages. Oh my God. I feel like that's even bigger than New York Times, like being translated in so many languages.
Right.
I love you for that.
Yeah, she has been a regular contributor to the New York Times, Real Simple, the Oprah Magazine, Cup of Joe, and many other publications. She writes Crone Sandwich on Substack and lives in Amherst, Massachusetts. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank
Thank you so much.
To have you here.
Thank you. I'm so
really
happy to be here.
Aw. So, okay. To those of you that have not read, to those of you that have read this beautiful book, wasn't it amazing?
Yes.
And if you haven't read it, when I went, and so this is just a little information. When I went, I think I was at Barnes and Noble when I bought it. And I was asking one of the gentlemen that was working there, can you recommend a book for book club? And he said, well, this book has a lot of traction. I think if it's all ladies and they're about your age, they're going to love it. That's what he told me. I'm like, well, okay, but what if they're not my age? Are they still going to enjoy it? But I didn't ask him. I just thought. So I asked him, so what's the book about? Do you know? And he goes, I think it's a lady and she's sandwiched between young people, her children, and her parents. And I thought, all right, well, I'm there. I've been there for a while. So I read it. And I thought, okay. So I don't know what I expected, but this was so much more than I expected. It was
Absolutely.
So much deeper, and it had just so much content and how you portrayed the relationships with everybody, including your own relationship with yourself
as a woman,
and as a woman, the experiences as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, was just everything. And you took me back to so many memories. But before I go on, which I already did, tell us a little bit about yourself, Catherine. Tell us about you.
About me? Well, I'm a writer, but I wasn't always a writer. I got a PhD, which was a very long detour. And along the way, I was writing for money for a friend of mine who was editing a magazine, and that just turned into a career for me. I'm new to fiction relatively. I wrote my first novel during the pandemic, and I'm in love with fiction. I mean, I've been a reader of fiction for my whole entire reading life, and I've been an avid reader. I love reading fiction, but I'm new to writing it, and it's been a real joy. I feel like you can write so many true things under the
fiction,
under the slight covering of fiction. So I love it.
That. Yeah. I agree with you. I do agree with you. Was there any part of you in the book,
It always seems to end up that way. All our
right?
authors, just like our last author that we just interviewed, she's like, we were asked the question, what inspired the characters? And I'm like, oh, okay, just came up from my head. But really, at the
There was
core of
so
it, it
much.
was her.
There
It
was
Yeah.
was
so much of
her.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is I think the term I've heard is autofiction, where it's pretty much a lot of stuff lifted somewhat directly from life and then fictionalized to some extent. So Rocky, the main character, is a person I identify with a huge amount, I'll
And,
say.
Catherine, can I tell you, my oldest daughter's name is Raquel because we're Hispanic.
Oh,
So instead of
really?
Rachel, we called her Raquel. And her nickname with all our family in New York is Rocky.
I can't
So right
believe
off the bat, I could identify. And I'm a mom.
it.
I have three
Yeah.
daughters, but in the book, the mom had a boy and a girl.
Mhm.
And so there were
And
just
you're
so many
50
things.
something. And you're 50
Yes,
something. You're
yes,
right
yes,
there with
yes,
the main
yeah.
characters.
We were there with everything. So yes, I'm sorry. So go on.
We're gonna get sidetracked this whole interview person.
No, please. It's all about the sidetracking. That's like
Yes,
my
yes.
whole life is just a weird tangent off to the side.
Oh, well,
Yes.
it's a crazy, beautiful adventure, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so
go
Yeah.
ahead.
we just talked a little bit about the characters. What inspired you to write Sandwich?
Mm. I would say a couple things, and I think the fact that there's sort of more than one reason I wrote it is very represented in the book, which is kind of more than one book. Like it got it got gathered up in a bunch of those kinds of roundups of like beach reads, and I couldn't believe I was getting away with that because it kind of is a beach read. Like it's set in a beach town, it takes place during a beach vacation. Um, but then it has this like kind of dark heart in some ways. There's a lot of secrecy in it. And a lot of like women's reproductive life. So all of those things I was interested in. I was interested in the place I am in life, which is young adult children, aging parents, me in the middle, sandwiched, just like you were
Mm-hmm.
saying, Mercy. And I was interested in writing about Cape Cod. I've spent a ton of time there with my kids. I wanted to write about kind of nostalgic motherhood. You know, the way Rocky's always like spinning off into memories of like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
remember the year the kids were this age. And I wanted to write about menopause. And I had been keeping this like bullet list of menopause symptoms. And when it got long enough, I was like, okie doke, I could write a
It's
book
time.
now. Yeah, it's
It's
time.
like
Yes.
everything. Check,
Yeah.
check,
Yeah,
check.
yeah.
And
I was like, I got it.
it's such a trending topic finally after centuries.
Or maybe
After
the algorithm is just
millennia.
showing us menopausal stuff
No,
because of our
no, there are
ages.
so many books right now, so many books that are all about menopause, and so many incredible women out there that are actually voicing all the different things and how we're perceived versus the reality that we're going through, and just so many great things. So menopause has never been a secret. They talk about it, but it was kind of like you were going through your crazy era. And now it's like so much deeper. And am I wrong?
Empowering.
Right?
Mhm.
And yeah, and now it's like this is real and we're owning it and this is what's happening and this is what we're doing about it. And this is, and you're welcome. You all came to Earth because of us and you did this to us. And I applaud you for including that. That was beautiful. And I could resonate with so much of this story.
Mhm.
I used to take my three girls to the same cabin
Ah,
every year in Tennessee.
yeah.
So we would take that road trip from Miami to Tennessee and
And bring your mom
same
along.
everything. And
Yes.
yes, I
Yeah.
did that. And so yeah, yes. So all of it, all of it, all of it. How long, Catherine, did it take you to craft this book from your first thought about it that you were going to write it to putting it out?
I mean, the crazy thing, it's so weird. I have such a weird process. I'm a very copious note taker. So anything funny anybody says, I write it down as soon as I can remember to do it. anything weird that happens, anything I overhear on the beach. So I would say that for like 20 years, I've been taking notes on the Cape Cod beaches because
Okay.
I always want to be reading, but I can't concentrate on the beach. So all I do is eavesdrop and write down everything everybody says.
That's so funny.
I do
Right?
that.
Because like, and the New Yorkers, stuck to my thighs by the end of the day. You have to like peel it off because I haven't even been reading. It's just sitting there.
Mhm.
So I've been taking notes forever. I've been taking notes about motherhood, forever. So there
Sure.
were a lot of things in this book that were that existed in some form for a really long time. Like when I sat down to write it, or even when I sat down to plot it, to figure out what the story was I was going to tell, a lot of it was there, the stuff that's like dialogue or details, all that stuff, relationships, those things were already there. And then the writing, I think, pretty relatively quickly. When I'm actually writing, I'm an incredibly disciplined person, which is so funny because I'm like a force of chaos in general,
I love it.
but I have a very disciplined writing practice. So it's a matter of months of really focused writing, but the kind of wool gathering is a long time.
Now,
I'm,
so I want to know really quick, what is the
Mhm.
weirdest thing you've heard sitting on the beach?
Oh, I'll
Spying.
tell you. I'll tell you.
Well, we
I
just left topic. Go on.
I don't know if it's the weirdest, but my favorite thing is, see if you recognize this.
Okay.
I was sitting on the beach. This was like not that long ago. It was maybe the summer before I started writing Sandwich. And there were these drunk frat boys behind us. And I just overheard one of them say to another one, "Dude, do you know what was in the koi pond?" And another
What?
one said, "Koi?" And the other one said, "Yeah, it was koi." And I wrote that down and I said, I'm going to write a book just so I have somewhere to put this line. And
Oh,
that's
how
why I
fun.
wrote Sandwich. That line is in the book. Drunk frat boys talking about a koi pond. I was like, this is too good not to write it somewhere.
Yeah,
Love it.
I
that's like
crafted
spring
an
break 101.
entire novel around that one like anecdote.
That's so funny. That is so funny. Can I tell you that every single time that I entered a chapter and it started with Jamie was 4 then and Willa was not yet 1. Every
Mm.
time you put those ages, the way that you put them and how you started that chapter, it just got me. I loved it because it
I'm
was
so
your
glad.
timeline just flowed, but the words that you used to describe every timeline was just so beautifully crafted. I thought it was
Instead
so
of just jumping
simple.
around like some authors jump around, which is not bad, but yours just like flowed.
It just flowed. It was
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
What would you say was your most rewarding um, part, or what was your most rewarding moment when you were writing the book?
Gosh. I mean, this isn't when I was writing it, but my first reader of this book was my daughter Birdie, who's the character Willa's age, not coincidentally. And she's the person I kind of write for. She's like an incredible reader and just this incredibly funny person, really compassionate, just like a absolute moonbeam. I'm like so crazy in love with her, and she's such a great reader. So I gave her the book to read with some amount of trepidation. It's very revealing, and there's a character modeled very closely on her, and she loved it.
Oh,
She laughed and cried and said it was the best thing I'd ever written. And I
Oh,
was like,
that was
I can't,
everything.
it was everything. Like she's the person in my head when I'm writing, she's like when people say, do you have an imaginary audience? In some ways it's moms like me, like us. And in
mhm.
some
Right.
ways it's just her.
Oh, I
Oh, I
love
love
that.
that. Jinx.
I love
Yeah.
that. I I have 3 daughters myself, and my oldest one is an avid reader, always has been. She's a teacher now, but she's read her whole life. And when I finished my book, she was the first one that
Ah,
actually read it.
see,
And it was really a memoir that I turned into a
I
novel.
I understand these things.
And there were things in there that she wasn't aware of. And so at first she was, it's a whole emotional roller coaster. And she was done with it. And she told me, this is beautiful, but what the hell, Mom? How did
Oh,
I know this? So it was
it's
tough, but yeah. So I
and
can
an
I can see.
occasion for connection too for
Right,
you
Mhm.
guys.
right. And so your
Absolutely.
Willa is my Rocky in real life.
Yeah, I
So
love
we
it.
had that in common. So I
Love
absolutely,
that.
absolutely love this book. If you had to tell a reader that they should read this book because of XYZ, what would you tell them? Why should they read this book?
Um, I mean, I do keep getting emails from men our age saying, "Wow, I read your book and now I understand my wife," which I think is freaking
Oh, that's
hilarious.
That's
interesting.
Yeah.
excellent.
So if it's not going to speak to you personally, it might help you understand someone in your life.
That's excellent. What a great
I
point of
know.
view. I
I
love
know.
that.
I mean, I mostly feel like, my fondest hope as a writer is that somebody reads something I've written and feels less alone.
Yeah.
That has always been the solace of reading for me, is that feeling of deep understanding, even if someone is so different from you or the characters have nothing in common with you, that tapping into whatever is true about human experience, that
Mhm.
feeling of like, oh my God, this,
Mhm.
that,
Yeah,
You're not
I felt
alone.
that. I know that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the dream. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the,
Oh, that's a beautiful
that's,
tree.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
that
it's
that
here.
yep. And that leads me to my question, my next question. And I know that the three of us know the why, but for
Mm.
everyone listening and watching, why women's reproductive rights in your story?
Why is it there?
Yeah. Why'd you decide to include it without giving
Um,
too much away? Because we don't want to give away the whole
I
book.
won't give too much away. I'll tell you by way of an anecdote, which is that I was doing an interview um, with a man a little bit older than me,
Mhm.
and he was great. He loved the book. He was a wonderful reader and a really interesting person. But and I should say, at some point he said, "Wow, I was just thinking like this could have been such a lovely story about a family on vacation. Why did you kind of lump it all up with this like reproductive
With
stuff?"
life.
Oh, just
And
the way, did he say
I
it exactly like that?
pretty close to that.
What?
And I was like, yeah, tell me about it, right? Like it would have been a great vacation if it hadn't been all glumped up with like
Life.
reproductive experience. And I was thinking the reason I was so glad he said it is that it helped me think about, I think one of my intentions in writing the book, conscious or not, but now I think of it as a conscious intention, but it may not have been conscious. I wanted to write about the way your reproductive body comes with you everywhere at every stage of itself. And so even though it would be like so interesting if we were all just like a brain in a jar on the beach, having like this
Wondering about the koi pond.
cerebral experience, like on every summer trip I've ever been on,
Mhm.
I have been a body in some form of reproductive experience. I have been pregnant. I've been nursing and pregnant. I've been postpartum. I've been perimenopausal. I've been menopausal. I'm now a postmenopausal. Like this body is always with us on vacation.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and
And every part leaves a small scar.
yeah. And
Mm.
so I wanted to write about that it's all of the things, not that you don't really get to pick and choose. And so for Rocky, all of the memories that are so precious to her are so real. They're all of the memories of the kids' little like
Mm,
sun-kissed faces tipped up to her to be wiped, or all the things. Those are so real and everything to her. And simultaneously, there's been an undercurrent of sorrow, of suffering to a certain amount. And
mm,
I wanted to write a book that had just all the full catastrophe in it, I
yeah.
guess.
And you did that beautifully. That
Thanks.
was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
If if you had to give advice, or we're asking you for advice to other writers that are listening to our or watching our podcast,
Yeah.
and they're aspiring authors, what from your experience what advice would you give them?
Such a good question. I mean, there's so many different kinds of advice. There's very like practical advice. I mean, I think I will say that living as a writer means that you have this gift of paying attention. And it is, for me, the best way to live, is that call to attention that I'm always paying attention because I need stuff to write about.
Right.
But then it's like such a beautiful way to live. Like it's its own reward in a way, is that kind of paying attention to everything. So that, but I think too that like being I do a kind of audit for honesty after I write something, where I think I'm being honest about something and then I read it with an eye to like, is this the truest thing I could say about this experience? Is this usually there's a truer thing you can say, and it means digging deeper and revealing more of your own failings as a person. That's my experience. The truest things I ever want to say tend to involve uncomfortable truth for
Right.
me. And I would say that if you're digging into that stuff, it's probably going to be like something worth writing about.
Wow.
And if nothing else, therapeutic, right?
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else,
If
therapeutic.
nothing else. Wow.
So do
How does
you,
your Go ahead. Go ahead,
we're
Priya.
always
I have
talking
a
over each
thousand
other.
questions.
I know you guys are so
I
adorable. I
know, let me
can't
get in
really
there,
take it.
Rosie. Who is your favorite character?
I
Ooh,
mean,
I know.
I feel like for me, it's kind of a tie between Willa and Mort. Mort's the dad.
Mhm.
I loved writing both of those characters. The parts of the book that were easy for me to write are the parts that are funny, that are dialogue that I just stole from actual interactions with everybody. So everything Mort and Willa says is basically something those characters have said in real life. And that stuff is so much fun for me to write. And it's so fun where I'm like, I've been wanting to put this line somewhere and I'm going to put it here. And I just love that. So it's a tie for me. What about you guys? Is it too vain of me to ask?
Oh God,
Not at
no.
all.
No, no, no. You go, Priya. You ask first.
Well, yeah, definitely Rocky. I love Rocky. And there's so much to relate as a woman and what she goes through. And I know you say, well, okay, we talked about this a little bit before we started. Like you identify a lot with Rocky and
Yeah.
her whole process. And I think it's just so powerful how you wrote and weaved the story together and you injected yourself into the story through Rocky. I thought it was so masterful that you did that.
Thank you,
Yes.
Priya.
I personally loved Rocky because I could see through her eyes. I could
Hmm.
feel what she was feeling every step of the way as a mom, as premenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, all of it. I've been
All
there,
of
I've done all of it, all of it, done it all. Um, so I could identify. I've been at the beach with the sandy toes, and I've been there with a toddler, with
it.
an infant and pregnant,
And even the cover, like on the cover, when you see like all the towels,
all the
I was
towels and
like, oh,
everything
I've been
else.
there.
Yes.
Who's gonna
So,
wash those?
right,
You just
right.
left them there.
So, yep. So I lived it. I loved it all, but I have to say my favorite character was the husband.
Oh,
Ah,
really?
He was my
I love
favorite.
that.
And he's not a big part, I think, because like in every story, at least in my story as well, with the kids being there present and the parents needing help. He's always like kind of on the back burner, but always
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
And I love the tenderness and the understanding he has.
Yeah.
And I love the relationship that he has and how sometimes he knows things and sometimes he doesn't, which is so common. You
Yep.
knew? Well, yeah, you didn't tell me. Well, yeah, you what? Yeah. So, and they're always like the last ones to know. And I don't know. I think I identified with it so well, and I loved how he handled every situation because I don't want to
I
spoil anything.
Okay.
But he was my
That's
favorite
great.
character.
Okay, great.
And love like permeates the whole book.
Thanks.
Even though like there's so much happening, the reproductive rights, the family dynamic, the trip there, all the chaos. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
love permeates the whole thing. And there's a line in your book. And we are put on earth a little space that we may learn to bear the beams of love. And I feel like that's the whole story.
It's
right
everything.
there. That's the whole story.
Thank
It's so
you.
beautiful.
I agree. And I couldn't wait to find out what was going to happen. So I don't want to give anything away, but there's this whole moment at dinner table, right? I think they were having lobster rolls, and there's this whole announcement of something that's coming up that's not what the announcement was expected to be. So there was something underlying, right? But then there's this announcement, and the announcement is not the announcement that should have been. And you see kind of mom and dad and the sister that know what's happening, like, what just happened? Why didn't they say what they were supposed to say? And it kind of leaves you there. And then the story goes on, and you're like, but wait. And then there's this whole ending to it. And it's a beautiful ending. And it was so beautifully given closure in such a delicate manner that I was like, oh, that was beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
That was one of my favorite parts of the book.
Thank you
I
so
wrapped
much.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
absolutely.
you have another book coming up in October.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about it?
It's called Wreck. Like I'm
car
a
wreck?
wreck. Car wreck,
Okay.
train wreck.
Okay.
And it's the same characters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not exactly a sequel, although it sequentially follows this book. So I guess in a way it is a sequel. I just don't want people to think it's just like still them.
Did you need one to read the other?
Yeah, it's a standalone book. But if you've read Sandwich, I think there's things in it that you'll be like, oh.
I love how you did that. So that's a little bit of marketing right there. Like,
yeah.
You don't have to read it, but you should.
But I mean, I'm not going to stop you. Yeah. So that comes out in October. So fingers crossed.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, manifesting that it turns out to be a bestseller.
Oh, God, thank you.
Yes.
And please share it with us. We'd love to share it with the world as well.
I would love you to share
or
it
even with our
world.
book club, because this is totally up their alley. They're going to devour these books.
So they are waiting, and our ladies from book club are going to be ecstatic when they read this. I know them. I know all our ladies, and they're all somewhere in here.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Which is beautiful. So I wanted to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story, your book, your process, your time, everything. And can you tell us where we can find the book? To those that don't have the book yet, where can they find your book?
I think a bookstore or online or
any bookstore.
Well, definitely Amazon, because I got it on Kindle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I bought mine at Barnes and Noble in Naples, Florida.
So there you go. I mean, I think it's around still, or the library. Ask your library to order it if they don't have it.
Yes. And the library. Love the library. Oh, thank you, Catherine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're so fun to talk to.
I can't wait to read Wreck, so keep me in mind.
Yes. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being our guest today. Everyone, check out Catherine Newman's book, Sandwich and Wreck, coming out in October 2025.
You're going to love it.
Like, share, follow, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you, Catherine. Have a wonderful day.
Guys.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.